Jonathan Lee Riches investigates. I am covering the Moscow, Idaho Bryan Kohberger case. The father of Kaylee Goncalves, Steve Goncalves, he speaks again. America's Newsroom interviews Steve Goncalves. I'm going to play for you the clip of what he talks about. He talks about the Bryan Kohberger case and his thoughts. Steve Goncalves, he's been speaking a lot lately about the tragedy that occurred November 13th, 2022, where 4 college students were brutally stabbed during the early morning hours. Bryan Kohberger arrested. He's going through the judicial process right now. I want to share this interview right now. Check this out.
Steve Goncalves joins us now. Steve, thank you. You've been in our thoughts and prayers, as your whole family has been. And yesterday you were in the courtroom. He was silent. You are not. What do you think today?
I think it was a strategy. I think him and his lawyer spoke about it, and he's always had a history of being defiant and not giving, saying guilty or innocent is just a way of him, controlling the room.
Can you describe the room for us a little bit? What was the mood in the courtroom? Did you get any indication of how you think the trial will go eventually?
It was professional. There was a lot of people taking notes, a lot of people on their computers, media there, a lot of security. The mood was business and the beginning of a process that, these are things that have to go in a certain order, and we're one step closer to getting some justice.
The possible sentence for him would be death penalty or life imprisonment if he is found guilty. That's called for number 1 there. Those are the two. We have learned a little bit more about him. As Nancy Grace was explaining to us the other day, perhaps you're learning a little bit more about his background. Have you learned anything that gives you more of a clue as to what happened before this incident?
Yeah, lots of different sources. We've had an investigator and we've looked at it. It's hard to know exactly what's all accurate, but I do know from his, college background, some of the students have been interviewed, some of his classmates, and there's definitely an MO that we can put together and kind of have an understanding of who we're dealing with.
There were 4 victims we can show everybody here. Of course, your daughter Kaylee was one of them. The timeline of that day will be very important coming up for this trial, as everybody looks to see what happened, starting at 2 a.m. when the roommates returned home, all the way until 5:25 a.m. the next day when Kohberger's caught on camera on the campus. So all of those things are in play. Sir, a question as you get ready for the trial, if you could help us as people keep you in their thoughts and prayers, how do you get through the days?
It's not easy. I try to think of my family and just think of my children and what I need to do for them, and then just kind of ignore my own issues and then just kind of focus on that, and that helps me.
So what is the next step here for in the process?
October, we're supposed to have a trial. We've been told to expect it to be delayed. There's a high possibility of that. We hope it's not, but you got to prepare yourself for all the different scenarios that could unfold, and that's what we're looking forward to. There's not going to be any information. We tried to see if they could share, but their hands are tied, so we won't see anything until the court case happens, and that's going to be today. It's going to be in October.
You didn't seem like you were surprised by the strategy yesterday for Kohberger to remain silent and have the lawyer speak for him and the judge speak for him instead. I guess that you weren't surprised, but in a way it was almost as if you could imagine that he might go ahead and plead guilty and move forward that way. I'll give you the last word.
My wife did imagine, that was her hope. I prepared myself for the worst. That's just the kind of way I look at, these type of situations. But, he didn't even address the judge as, the way he addressed the whole courtroom was very defiant.
Defiant. All right. Well, we will be staying in touch with you. The trial starts in October. Mr. Goncalves, thank you.
Steve Goncalves, brave man. Seems like he is taking the forefront of all the victims' families and speaking. My thoughts on this is that some of the victims' families, and I'm assuming it's probably the Goncalves family, the Mogan family, and possibly Xana's family, are working together, and they designated Steve Goncalves to speak on their behalf. Shannon Gray, Steve Goncalves' attorney, the attorney Shannon Gray, I think he is representing all those three families. Don't think the Chapin family's on board with these families right now, the family of Ethan Chapin. But Steve Goncalves has been speaking and sharing his thoughts and his feelings. I will continue to gather clips of interviews that he gives with media outlets and share with all of you, compile them all together so you can see. Check out my Moscow, Idaho playlist. Subscribe to my channel. Like, hit the notification button. What's your thoughts about what Steve said in this particular interview? I'm curious to know. I'll be reading your comments. We'll talk soon. Stay tuned.